This is a tutorial to demonstrate a technique I call sidechain expansion. This technique works in a similar way to sidechain compression that has been popular for a long time now, but instead of ducking a sound out of the way when another sound plays, the most popular example would be ducking the bass when your kick is playing, it will actually make the sound louder instead. Typically you would want to have a big punchy kick with lots of low end. You would try and write bass line around the kick so that they don't clash, or use sidechain compression to move the bass line out of the way. But sometimes you want the bass line to carry all of the bass power, and you'd have a small clicky kick on top. And if you do it right, you should have the illusion of a huge kick drum. Using sidechain expansion, you can get the bass line to pop out a little bit more and add some more weight and punch to your low end. For this tutorial, you'll need Ableton Live 9 with Max and the Max for Live Essentials pack that contains the envelope generator utility. For this example, we're going to use a standard 4/4 track to keep things nice and simple. So first let's look at the bass line. It's a pretty simple pattern, but you'll notice that we've got a note playing on every fourth beat, which is where the kick drum will normally sit. I'm going to be using analog for this example, so let's start setting it up for a nice bass sound. First thing I'm going to do here is just reduce the low pass filter. Get that right down low. There's a little bit of an envelope on there. Okay, that sounds about right. Reduce that sustain right down. Lower that down 1 octave and increase the sub on the other oscillator a little bit. We want loads of low end here because it's going to be making up for the kick not being there. Next I'm going to put an EQ8 on just to get rid of the really low end, and also we're going to need this later for when we start doing the sidechain expansion. Next we need to add a kick, so I'm just going to go through the Ableton Live packs. If we go into drum machines, then into kick, you should find the C78 kick, which has got a really nice clicky high end, which is exactly what we're after. First thing we're going to do is warp that and set it to beat mode, which is best for percussion sounds, and then loop it up to 1 beat. This will save lengthening it out to a 4/4. It's just a quick, easy way of doing it. Okay, that sounds good. Right, now we want to put an EQ on this and get rid of the low end that's there already. Just increase that to about just over 100. Okay, so the bass can sit in that region now, make up for the low end that's missing. And now we want to just emphasize the click a little bit more. This is a good technique that you might be able to use elsewhere as well. If you get to around 1000, 1200 Hertz, just increase that a little bit. Get the kick to stand out a bit more. And also I'm going to do a little dip just before that to make up for the boost, and also make the click stand out even more. Reduce that down a tiny bit. Okay, that's starting to sound good. Right, yeah, I think that should do. Okay, now next we're going to start setting up the sidechain expansion. On this track I've got just a short click. You want it to be as short as possible. You hear it there. The reason you want it to be as short as possible, this is the same for sidechain compression as well, is that you can always increase the release, but you can't take it away. So a really short sample is good. So if we go into the Max for Live Essentials, and in there you should find the envelope follower. Drag that onto the track. And what we're going to do is set up another pole on the filter on the bass line, which is what we're going to be automating. So I'm just going to hunt around and see which part of the bass sounds the best for this technique to sound really good. Just want the punchiest part of the bass region really. Sounds okay around there. Yeah, I think that'll do. Reduce that back down. Okay, so we want to set up the low end to be 50, which would be the 0 decibels mark on the EQ, and reduce down the high end as well because we don't want it to go too high. And click on map, go over to the EQ and click on the gain parameter. As you can see already, it's starting to get a little bit of movement, but we're going to need to adjust this now. So if we increase the fall parameter, this is going to make it sound a bit more like the decay on a kick, and increase the gain as well, just so it's acting as much as possible on the EQ. We go back over and see what that looks like now. Right, I think we can increase the high end a little bit, get a little bit more boost out of that. Just use your ears to figure this out. Obviously it's going to be different for every example. So just turn it off so you see hear what it sounds like normally. Go back and turn it on. And there you can see straight away there's loads more punch in the low end, and that's the sidechain expansion technique. So obviously there's further adjustments that we can do to this. One thing that you might need to do is there might be a tiny bit of latency in between the two samples, so if you zoom right in and turn the fixed grid off, so you can move it in the smallest increments possible. And if you just nudge it around and just listen very carefully and see where it sounds best. Sounds okay around there. Shift it around either way to see if that makes much difference. I think just in front of the hit sounds probably best there, yeah. I hope you found this tutorial useful, and thanks for watching.